questions review for exam 2, another practice test. I've taken these from the original practice test, so these are the ones I want you to focus on. Notice there are no multiple choices now. They are open answers. So if you go back to the original test, you'll see these versions with multiple choice, but in the actual exam, I will have these listed as just sort of fill in the blank type questions. So I'm going to go through each one of these and we'll see how they go. So this first one, the data in the table represent the number of consumer complaints against major U.S. airlines. If one complaint from the table is randomly selected, find the probability that was filed against Northwest Airlines. So Northwest Airlines is this one here. Remember, probability is about counting and dividing. So the 765 is the count of how many came from Northwest Airlines, how many complaints. All we need to do now is divide by the total. So we have to add these together. And we can do that by coming over to our calculator. You could do it by hand as well, but I'm just going to do it this way because we're going to actually use this number, so 2,500. They're both divisible by 5, so this can be reduced. So let's see what it reduces down to. 765 divided by 2,500. So for our final answer, we're going to want 153 over 500, or 0.306. Or if you take that decimal and multiply it by 100, you could list the percentage. Notice all it asked for was find the probability. It didn't tell us about whether we need to list it as a fraction. This is a reduced fraction, or a decimal, or a percentage. So those are all valid ways to write the probability. All three are correct answers. The next question we're going to take a look at, a group of students were asked if they carry a credit card. The responses are listed in the table. So we have this table. The question is, if a student is selected at random, find the probability that he or she owns a credit card given. Now that's a very important word. It's telling us it's a conditional probability, given that the student is a sophomore. Now, so what we do know is that the student that was chosen was a sophomore. So this is the only data we need. The freshmen don't exist at this point. Neither does the total. So what we have is, of the sophomores, those who carry a credit card is 40, and the total number of sophomores is 40. So in this case, that's going to be equal to 1, which is also equal to 100%. So be able to do these ones. Again, the questions will be slightly different, but there'll be ones where we have a table where it has to find it. Here is a conditional. So it was different than the first one, which was not a conditional. We just took the total of the total. So that's how we do this one. So look for that important word there. The probability it will rain is 40% each day over a 3-day period. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's raining right now, so we got it. What is the probability it will rain at least one of the 3 days? So at least one of the 3 days. So what we've got is that over 3 days, 1, 2, 3, it will either rain or it won't rain. We want a probability it will rain on at least one of the days. So it could rain on 1 day or 2 days or all 3 days. And if it rains on only 1 day, you'd have to count all the different ways. It could rain on the first day, not the second 2. It could rain on the second one, but not the first 2. It could rain on the third day, but not the first 2. So there's a lot of things to count, but remember this important word, at least one. Means that if we calculate none, no rain at all, and subtract it from the 100%, we will have this answer in a much easier way. because the only way it cannot rain is that each of the 3 days it doesn't rain. So the probability of not raining is, if it's 40% of rain, it's going to be 60% no rain. And that's on each day, so we're going to take 1 minus 0.6 times 0.6. Each day it does not rain. There it is. We calculate this. This will give us the probability that it would have rained at least one day, maybe two, maybe three. Okay, so any of those would be proper answers. So we take 1 minus 0.6 times 0.6 times 0.6. Now we didn't need a parentheses around this. We do need to do a 0.6 because order of operations, it'll multiply first and then subtract, but it gives us that it's 0.784. Multiply that times 100, and that's 78.4%. So we could list either one of those as our answer. Both are correct. 3 decimal places, I think they mean rounded at the beginning. So 0.784, or I would accept also 70. Also accept 78.4%. Number 9. And you'll see there's 5 from each of the chapters we've done. 5 questions. I'll make 3 separate videos. The table lists the smoking habits of a group of college students. If a student is chosen at random, find the probability of getting someone who is a regular or, it's a key word there, heavy smoker. Round your answer to 3 decimal places. Or is the only type of probability where we add, not multiply. But as we're adding, we also may need to subtract if there is overlap. Well, where are the regular smokers? They're right here. Where are the heavy smokers? They're right here. Are there any overlaps? No, there's not. So we can take the total of the regular smokers, add it to the total of the heavy smokers, nothing to subtract off, and then divide by the total. 7 plus 11 divided by 420. Now, if it had been something like a regular smoker and a woman, or a woman, we would have had overlap of 21, but we didn't have that. So, okay, but be prepared to do both. This gives us 98 out of 420. And again, we can come to our calculator, 98 divided by 420, and it gives us the reduced fraction, gives us our decimal. And again, if you multiply this by 100, you also get the percentage, 23.3%. So we could list all of these. It's 7 out of 30, which is 0.233, which is the same thing as 23.3%. The last question we have here is to just perform this indicated calculation. This is a permutation. And so be ready to do a permutation or a combination. The way it's done on the NumWorks calculator is from the calculation screen, we go to the toolbox. That's, notice paste right under, that's a toolbox. Let me back up a little bit. When you come to the toolbox the first time, there's all these different tools. We want to use the probability tool, and we want to do combinatorics. Okay, this is for the combination, so had it been 10C5, that's what the one we would use, but the permutation is with the P. We use this tool. We put in the 10 first. We've got 10 items, and we're going to choose 5 of them, and the order is important. There are 30,240 ways to arrange these 5 items that we chose out of 10. 30,240, and that's our answer. On this calculator, had we been asked to do a combination, and that would have been 10 combine 5, which is basically the same thing, but with the combination orders not important. Um, we're still choosing 5 out of 10, but the order that we choose them in is not important. And we go to the toolbox up to here, and we would put in 10 choose 5. And we get a much lower number. Okay, so be prepared to be able to do both, because order is not important. That's just 252 groups of 5. This is 30,240 arrangements of 5, right? These are arrangements. All right, so I'm going to call it good for this one, and then I'll make 2 other videos for the next 2 chapters.